Hello. I've just been looking at an old British Pathe video. British Pathe has a lot of old archive videos. I've probably mentioned them before on this video, on my channel, I should say. And a lot of them are very watchable because they're only a few minutes long, so they're real snapshots, better than, more concise than some of my videos, I have to admit. But anyway, I came across one dated 1972, and basically it was a clip of interviews of residents somewhere in Kent. I'm not sure where exactly. Kent, the Garden of England, if you're not familiar, it's a county near London that's largely rural but has urban segments as well. Anyway, in this segment, there is basically, it's entitled The Gypsy Problem, which is perhaps a bit biased, but it's interviewing local residents and it's also interviewing self described gypsy people. And basically, it's the age old issues coming around two versions of what's happening. So the local residents are saying that the gypsies are not abiding by local laws, and if they didn't do it, they'd be hauled before a court. They're saying that they're littering. They're saying that they're basically causing trouble. Now, the Romanis or the Gypsies say that that's not true, and the rubbish was caused by the residents. And their perspective is they're being discriminated against. One of the men in the family said, "We can't even get a drink or cigarettes. We're always turned away." So it got me thinking about the wider issues around this. And this is not going to be a very comprehensive video. It's going to be more or less a summary, but it's an area I've always had mixed feelings about because, on one hand, without question, there has been a history of persecution and discrimination against Romani people. We saw it in the Holocaust as probably the most glaring example. Um, of course, somewhere in the region of 250,000 Romani people were sent to the gas chambers. And across Europe, there have been examples of pogroms against Romani people. It's important, by the way, to think of the terminology because there's Romanis who, as I understand it, were the gypsy nomadic people who came from Central Asia hundreds, thousands of years ago. The origins are uncertain, but theories go back to India, Egypt, and then traveling through Europe. Today, certainly in Britain, Romani is connected with Eastern Europe, especially Romania, Slovakia, and so on. And I know people from, I should say, Central Europe feel resentful about that. A lot of Romanians don't like being seen as the land of gypsies because Romania today is a greatly developed country from the communist era, and I suppose they associate gypsy with backwardness. Um, Arguably, like many European countries, the Romani populations in Slovakia, Romania, and so on complain of discrimination. To what extent that is true, I just don't know. Um, because with these things, there's always two sides to the story. Now, I do think that there has been a history of discrimination. I think there's no doubt about that. And I think a lot of gypsies do suffer from automatically being tagged with a negative label as being thieves, as being, as you know, causing rubbish. I think it's important to differentiate between Romani and Irish travellers. Again, though, you'd get similar debates with travellers. I have to be honest, though. A community that settles all its disputes with fights cannot complain entirely about being misunderstood. And that's certainly what happens in the Irish traveller community. Two men have a misunderstanding, they don't talk it through, they just beat the crap out of each other, and then they shake hands. Now, on one hand, it's very honest, and these are hard, hard men. Everyone, anyone who's seen Snatch or anything like that, this is an old school style of fighting. It's, going back to the days of 19th century bare knuckle fighting. It's a hard life. Um, but I don't believe the version whereby, oh, we're victims of discrimination and that's it. Anyone who doesn't like us is just a bigot. There is two sides to every story. And the fact of the matter is, there has been examples of um, travelers moving into a community and Romani moving into a community, both examples, perhaps more so with travelers. And then there being problems with theft and so on. And I have seen examples whereby you get traveling men, especially, always work in gangs. There's been examples, for instance, where a doorman has turned them away from a club. They come back as a gang to try and beat up the doorman. So I just don't accept this argument. Oh, they're peaceful people and they're misunderstood. They're not that peaceful. They resolve disputes through fights. That's not peaceful. It's frankly a pretty caveman attitude to things. And I'm no pacifist, but so what I would summarize is there is a difference between gypsies and travelers, but I think both communities there probably can be examples found where you're seeing two sides of something. So on one hand is the local, let's say, mainstream community. They complain that these people are, and I'm not saying that in a derogatory way. I'm just saying these people, an adjective, um, are causing crime. They would say that's not fair. We're not doing that. We're being unfairly blamed. So who do you believe? I do think there is an element of political correctness about this. I do feel that if anyone does raise issues, they're automatically accused of being a bigot. Now, that is not right. Where there are problems, they have to be addressed. And the police cannot have their hands tied in case they're accused of discrimination. Having said that, if there is clear discrimination going on, that should also be tackled. So, if I was an MP in one of these areas, I would try my level best to listen to both sides. But I would also take the position very clearly that where crime is being committed, whether it be travellers stealing or whether it be hate crime against travellers, I would, be taking a hard line against that, and I would be speaking to my police colleagues and saying, there is a problem here. We need to address the issue. I don't accept certainly when travellers say, I've heard things like anyone who says that we are not peaceful people, I'll kick their head in, or the sort of pikey language. That's just stupidity. You can't complain about being misunderstood if your response to everything is to threaten to fight with someone. And I think that negative stereotype, there is some truth in it. This is the thing about stereotypes. It's not good to always see people in a negative light because then you get into generalizations, right? And I, for one, don't believe that all traveling people are bad people, and I certainly don't believe that all gypsies are bad people. In fact, I've known some people in my life, and they've been very nice people. So I will always condemn generalizations. What I don't like is when there is people are reluctant to, talk about these things in case they get accused of bigotry. The charge of bigotry should not be used as a way to destroy debate. Where there is genuine bigotry, i.e., what the guy said in the video. Now, bear in mind this was 1972, and frankly, I don't think there's been a massive amount of change in those 45 years. But anyway, what the guy said in the video is we're refused from the pubs here. I don't know enough. I don't know as much about these issues as people living in these communities, so I should be honest about that. But I'd like to hear from people who do actually. So if you live in an area where there is a problem of whether it be travellers or gypsies, uh, be honest. I don't want to just hear hateful comments like they're all thieving scumbags. I want to hear a adult, candid account. And if you are a Romany person and you're watching this, I'd like to hear your side of things as well. Maybe you have suffered discrimination, and that's wrong. I don't think anyone should be bullied for who they are. I don't think anyone should be marginalized. But there is two sides to every story, and I don't. There is this one kind of left wing idea that well they're they're poor people who are discriminated against. I think there's a bit more to it than that. Um, like I say, there's two sides to every story. So let me know your thoughts, whichever side you're on, and I promise I'll treat your comment with respect. But from my perspective, there are two sides, and I don't agree that for what it's worth, I do think sometimes there will be a prejudice there, and they'll automatically assume the gypsies, so they're going to cause problems. That then might lead to misunderstandings, and where there is prejudice, there is going to be animosity. So there's two sides of this. That's all. Um, I do think that the government should help. You know, you can't put people in a no-win position where, for example, they're told to move on, but then they're told to move on from the next place and the next place. There has to be some sort of agreement that they can settle in a certain place, especially if they buy the land. That's another thing. Not all gypsies are dirt poor. Some of them are very wealthy. So there's a lot of misconceptions out there, but I'll put a link to this video. It's quite interesting, and I don't think a great deal has changed in 45 years, and that's sad. I remember during the 2005 general election, it became a big issue. Michael Hard got a lot of criticism for making it an issue, but the Conservative leader at the time. But you know, like I say, there's two sides to this. If I lived in an area and people had moved in and there was an increase in rubbish and crime, etc., I would be concerned, and I would be voicing my concerns. So let me know your thoughts. I don't want to hear any comments, by the way. Oh, Nathan, you're being ignorant about blah blah blah. I'm trying to be fair here. I'm recognizing that there are issues on both sides, and I hope people recognize that. So I'd just like to hear perspectives. That's all. But final point, I think there has to be honesty in this. That's the most important thing. And what we can't have is a situation where people are not speaking their mind because they're accused of being bigoted, or where Romany people feel that they are basically being demonized. That's the two issues here. There has to be honesty and honest debates around this. Thanks for watching.